What's up, folks? So if you're like me, you use your camping and adventure gear a whole lot. And that means you're refreshing your gear a whole lot as well. Maybe you've got a tent that you used for a little while, and then you got a new tent just when that old one got worn out. So you've got a bunch of gear sitting around that's either lightly used or maybe it's still got some life in it, but it's not your A-list gear. So what do you do with all that camping gear? Well, today there's an event hosted by Don'tComply.com and a couple other people that's called Feed the Need. So it's basically a big gathering where people are bringing food, winter clothes, stuff like that to homeless people in the Dallas area. So that is a great place to give away camping gear, because if this gear got me through an adventure where I'm, out in the cold for a couple days, then the people who are not necessarily choosing to be on this adventure but are stuck out in the cold can really benefit from this gear. So I've got some old hiking boots. These are actually the Merrells that got me through Philmont years ago. Now they're definitely pretty tired looking, pretty old and worn, but there's still quite a bit of life left in them, so they could benefit somebody. I've got this old sleeping bag, an REI mummy bag that, yeah, it's definitely kind of old and tired, but still very, very useful. I also lost the stuff sack for it, so it's just in a trash bag right now, but the bag itself is still very usable. An old REI Half Dome tent that got me through years and years of camping adventures. Again, kind of worn and tired, but still could definitely be a temporary roof over somebody's head, somebody who needs it. And then, of course, just a big bucket of old clothes. One of my buddies threw in some clothes in here too. So it's, some old dress pants, stuff like that. But also a bunch of clothes that are like, I don't know, if you're like me, you go to a bunch of events and they give out, hoodies and t-shirts and stuff like that. So one interesting thing about this event, like I said, it's hosted by Don'tComply.com, is it's actually 100% illegal. So the city of Dallas has actually passed a whole lot of regulations as far as who can actually serve food at either public or private events, in terms of like food service training and licensing you have to have. And then they've also increased the regulations on basically the process of hosting a public event. Certain permitting you have to go through, and just boxes that need to be checked to get permits and licenses and all that. So this whole group of guys is a bunch of libertarians and voluntarists and anarchists, people of that mindset, who basically say, you know what, we've got good food to cook, we've got blankets and sleeping bags and clothes to give out. We want to just help people in our own community. So when the city makes that illegal, we just say screw it and we do it anyway. So real big props to those guys at Don't Comply and the other groups who were really helping out. I'm just kind of showing up to this event and dropping off some things. This is not my event whatsoever. But it just goes to show how, like, these regulations, though I'm sure the intent was, oh, well, we don't want people who don't know anything about food service preparing food and giving it out to people. We want to make sure people get good food. I'm sure that was the intent, but the effect is, when you require all this licensing and permitting and training and all that stuff, the effect is just a lot of private organizations say, well, we can't do that, or we don't have the time to do that, or the money to pay for this training or whatever. So it increases the need, because these groups aren't going down there nearly as much. So I really applaud like groups like Don't Comply and other groups like this. I'm sure they're all over the country, probably all over the world, who basically say it's illegal. Well, I don't care. I want to help people. I'm going to do it anyway. So props to those groups. So if you know of a group like that who does things like this in your local area, whether it's helping out with food or providing, a sleeping bag or whatever, see if you can get connected with those groups. And even if you can't participate in the events, like, they're always in need of stuff to give out, or financial donations. So anything you can do definitely helps.
Thank you, young lady.
It's just amazing to see how many people come out and help with something like this. People cooking food, there were people serving some ribs that they cooked up themselves, some fresh produce from their gardens, sleeping bags, more than enough clothes. Just great to see everybody coming and helping out. Everybody there was armed. A lot of those guys I met through the open carry movement in Texas, but because everybody there was armed, there was no trouble. The police showed up. And actually, they weren't particularly helpful. They showed up and told us that we couldn't park on this one side of the street, so we had to kind of take turns moving some vehicles down the road. But otherwise, you know, they didn't really mess with us. But it was a fantastic event, so very cool to see so many people just donating just around the Christmas season to people in need. So until next time, stay safe, be free, and never stop seeking adventure.